I'm calling the meeting to order 10 minutes late almost. This is the Tuesday evening, April 5th meeting of Golden Speakers Toastmasters, Fairfield, Iowa. The mission of our club is to create a supportive and positive learning environment in which each of us develops the skills of verbal communication and leadership, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Tonight, we have a number of roles to fill, and our Toastmaster of the evening, Alex Gibbons, will introduce those role players.
No, I think it's Nick.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong agenda.
And that one's from last week.
I got the wrong one, March 29th.
But at least he's looking at the agenda. That's a good thing.
I think it was an April Fool 4 days later.
Yes, if tonight's Toastmaster, Nick Campney, would take over and introduce the role players, that would be a great service.
Thank you very much, Art. Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. President, it's a joy and honor to be here tonight as we celebrate the two first place victories in our area competition, won by Bob and Art last weekend. And now we will get a little taste of what they have to speak tonight. Hopefully we'll get to hear Art have another free flow performance in the table topics later on. And Bob's gonna give us a special presentation on a prepared speech he had done in the past few weeks, I believe. So before we get to all that, we're gonna run through all the different roles we have, and we have a lot of them. So first I'm gonna introduce Dan Craig, who is gonna be our timer tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role as the timer is to keep track of the various speaking roles and give timing lights that let the speaker know how far they are. Bob's speech is 5 to 7 minutes. So at 5 minutes, I'll give him a green background. At 6 minutes, he'll get a yellow. At 7 minutes, a red. And then he has 30 seconds to wrap up. For table topics, which are 1 to 2 minute speeches, there's a green at 1 minute, a yellow at 1.5 minutes, and a red at 2 minutes, and again, 30 seconds to wrap up. Evaluators are typically 2 to 3 minutes. So that's the green at 2, 2.5 for the yellow, 3 minutes is red, and then 30 seconds. We may modify the table topics evaluator time, but we'll talk about that when appropriate. I'll keep track of all those times and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dan. The next role is the grammarian, which I also have the honor of playing tonight. So my job as grammarian is first to keep track of any interesting language that I hear throughout the meeting and give a report on that at the end. And also to put out a word of the day, which today's word of the day is in the chat. It's nonplus. It's to surprise and confuse someone so much that they are unsure how to react. And in a Toastmasters sentence, we would say, at Toastmasters, we try not to nonplus any guests with off-the-wall table topics. I thought it was interesting that the noun originally meant a state in which no more can be said or done. The next role that we'll discuss is the counter, who will be Mr. Bob Fogel. Bob, could you explain your role, please?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, my fellow Toastmaster viewers at home. My role as the counter is to look for all sounds, words, sounds used as crutches, pause, filler words by anyone, of course, anyone that would speak for this evening. I will look for overused words and words including like and, well, but, so, you know, maybe, things of that. And I will also listen for filler sounds such as things of that nature. And of course, we look for double taps, repeats, where they start and you start back over again. Or I mean this, I mean that. And when called upon at the end of the meeting, I will give my report. Oh, one last thing. If I catch any one of you making those sounds, you're going to get a oi. Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Hopefully that oi doesn't nonplus anyone.
Nice.
Next up is our general evaluator, who is Alex Gibbons. Alex, can you explain your role as general evaluator, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'll be evaluating our evaluators at the end of the meeting, and I'll also be calling our everyone that's playing a role tonight to give their reports at the end after the table topics.
All right, thank you. And finally, Art Atkins is going to lighten our day up as he is the joke master. And Art, do you want to say anything about that?
Oh, I'll withhold the joke until later.
Well, thank you. So to move forward, now we're ready to hear from the evaluator for Bob's speech, who is Art. Art, can you introduce Bob and his prepared speech tonight?
I'm not sure. I haven't received any evaluation form.
Just a general talk for Bob.
Right. So I'll be looking for the usual general good principles, structure to the speech, vocal variety, colorful use of language. An effective eulogy would be one that spoke to the emotions of those who are listening. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a non-manual speech, and I don't know if I failed to read an email today. Is there an introduction?
No,
No introduction.
Okay,
It was
Okay.
just the VPE was kind to let me share this little thing. And we'll take it from there. Yes.
I'll just give an impromptu introduction for Bob. Bob has been a Toastmaster since March 2020, I think. It was when he attended one in-person meeting, and then we went Zoom, and that's it. That's the way, and he's been with us this whole time. He has a basement repair business that's very successful in the area that he works as his day job. He shared with us last week that his younger brother had recently passed on, and that he had delivered a eulogy or comments at a ceremony honoring that individual, and would we like to hear it? And we said yes, and that's where we are tonight. So please help me warmly welcome Bob. That would be Nick, but we can please help me warmly welcome Bob.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. Whether you are a harbinger of your own salvation to work out with your own efforts, or if you are a believer in Jesus Christ for your own salvation, welcome. I picked out a few verses from Psalms 90 to start us off with. And they go as so. Teach us to realize the brevity of life. Give us gladness in proportion to the former misery that we have had. And may God show his approval and make our efforts prosperous. Not your typical eulogy prayer. However, like most people, when it comes to prosperity, we would like to line our pockets and fill our home with valuable things, which is very common and very good. And that's all fine and dandy and all. However, I believe the writer, when speaking about prosperity, was talking about some true riches other than monetary things. Number one being joy, peace of mind, love of family, love of friends, courage and strength to push through the hard times that we all face on a daily basis or throughout our lives, and to recognize that life is short and live to the fullest. For I believe a person that lacks in these true riches is truly a poor person. My younger brother was about 10 years old. He was divorced and he left no children. However, he was a family man in sorts because he had great relations with his nieces and his nephews and his cousins and all the family. I'm fortunate enough to come from a big family with all musicians and antics and get-togethers, campings, and it's wonderful. It's just a wonderful atmosphere with my family. In addition to that, Rick had a big imagination. He authored 5 different books. He wrote poetry. He wrote a few songs. He self-taught himself and playing guitar. He was a pretty good guy. And he would be happy for me to be sharing his final moments of his life here on earth. That day, I received a call from my sister stating that my brother had went to the hospital and he had a heart attack. However, he didn't make it. And he was in the morgue and at the basement in the hospital. And the hospital wanted him picked up sooner than later. My sister asked me if I would take care of the business to call the crematorium and have someone come pick him up and brought back to Des Moines, about a 2-hour drive. I made the phone call. I talked to the director, and when I talked to him, I gave my credit card number, and we made the deal over the phone. And that was great. And he said he was going to pick up Rick around 9 in the morning. Fine. At which time I called the crematorium, the director, about noon and asked him how things went. And he said, yeah, that he picked up Rick and he was there preparing the body for a 12:30 cook-off. And about noon or so, my sister called and said that the hospital just called and said that they were asking when we're going to pick Rick up from the morgue. I'm thinking, pick Rick up from the morgue? Yes, because they had a strict policy, regulations, he had to be out of there. And I said, I just spoke with the director and he is there at the morgue. At the crematorium. Well, my sister, she was kind of frantic. She calls back to the hospital, talks to the morgue, and they insisted that Rick was in the morgue at the hospital. And I was like, what do we do? She was like, oh, I bet you when you made that phone call, you called overseas and somebody ripped you off and they took your money. And she's going, I'm going to call the Better Business Bureau. And I'm thinking, I think I'm going to take a different approach to this. I called back to the director and I asked him, Director, would you do me a little favor? My brother, I want to check who you got in there. He's 6 foot, green eyes, 300 pounds, And he has long hair and a goatee. And not wanting to miss any detail, I asked him, Mr. Director, would you look at his butt? Why would I do that? Well, you see, sir, my dad was a Navy man, and he had tattoos, one of which was a pair of lips on his butt. And we Fogel boys vowed to carry on that tradition. Hang on, I'll look. Mr. Fogel? Yes? I found a tattoo. However, it's not a pair of lips. It's not? I'm thinking, how many 6-foot, green-eyed, long-haired hippies you got in there? Okay, with tattoos on their butt. He goes, it's a cat named Zoe. I'm like, that's my brother. I forgot he's a cat lover. Of course he would put a cat on his butt. So if you ever have your butt tattooed, remember to tell your families and friends so that you just won't be another butt lost in the crowd. By the way, it was a clerical error from the hospital. We did have him. Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Wow.
Most unexpected. I'm not sure if I want to meet your family or I don't want to meet your family. I'm kind of on the fence right now. But I hope they appreciated all the humor and the buildup in there. I did not know where this was going for quite a long time. I said, when are we going to get back to the brother? And oh boy, did we get to him. But fellow Toastmasters.
But no pun intended, right?
Right. I'm just trying to get his attention here. Hey, you're the all counter. Stay on these butts. We have important business to do. We want to send Bob some feedback on this. So Dan, could you set the timer for 2 minutes and everybody write a message to Bob about any thoughts on his speech tonight? Are you ready to give an evaluation or would you like to do it later?
Yeah, we can do it now.
Okay. So everyone's ready. Art will now give an evaluation of Bob's speech.
So there's several things about this which I think contribute to its being a successful eulogy. The structure that he followed was in the beginning to set up the scriptural background that life is brief. To get everybody in the mood to hear something important about his brother who had passed in an untimely young age. Then what he did was he gave us a picture of Rick by a few deft strokes, colorful strokes, one of them being his size, another one being his family man personality, the way he was well loved by nieces and nephews, the fact that he was a songwriter and a writer of prose. And then we get to the heart of the mystery part of the story. So where did the cadaver go? Who lost track of where the cadaver was? And finished out the explication of Rick's character by the non-standard tattoo that he had on his butt that nobody in the family had a clue about except for Bob. So what he accomplished with this was that he used a few brush strokes to awaken the love everybody had for this family member, and then finished it off with the humor element of people temporarily losing track of where the cadaver was, and left people having both the emotion of love for the man and amusement at the circumstances around the transport of the body. So he got laughter and love intermingled well, leaving the whole audience feeling those emotions, which is a sign of a good, successful eulogy. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you, Art.
Dan, Mr. Timer, did our speaker qualify?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, our speaker qualified.
Okay. Well, with that, I would like to hand this meeting over for the moment to our general evaluator, Alex Gibbons, to run things from here.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm honestly not sure what I'm supposed to do right now. Am I supposed to do something now? I think it's table topics, right?
Yeah, you hand over to Dan.
Dan? All right. I'm giving over to Dan.
Okay, thank you. Our theme tonight is surprises. Bob's talk was right in line with
Right in
tonight's
line.
theme. I have a number of questions to pose for you along that general theme. I'm hoping that they will stimulate your table topics muscles and that you won't be nonplussed, but can come through with something that will please everybody. I have 6 questions, and at this point, I'm asking for a volunteer.
I have to depart for a minute. I'll be back.
You want to hit your camera, Art?
Yeah.
Okay, who's up for a table topic? Jean,
And I'm an evaluator. So could someone evaluate me? Just get it out of the way. Alex will evaluate me. Okay.
very good. I've got 1 through 6. Please pick a number.
Okay. 2.
Number 2. Tell us about the most memorable surprise you ever had. Tell us about the most memorable surprise you ever had.
I'm sorry, I'm getting nonplussed by this question. Is that okay? I understand now. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. I don't know if this is the most memorable, but it is a surprise that has a bittersweet feeling to it. I was at college, I was at Duke, I had the work ethic of, hey, if I were not in college, I'd be out working a job. So I need to put in the hours on my studies. So every night I would go off and do my studies in the library or wherever it was. And I didn't come back usually till fairly late. Sometimes I came back early, but more often it came back late. It was my birthday, and just like usual, I went to the library and did a bunch of work and was swinging through the North Carolina winter. I was barefoot almost the whole time I was at Duke, just because I was trying to be a hippie. So I got back to my dorm, and I got up to my door and realized something was different. And I opened the door and there was just party paraphernalia all over the room. And my roommate was there, but she was the only one. And I said, what's going on here? And she said, well, we had a surprise party for you, but you weren't here. I just was like, oh, I missed my own party. And why didn't you tell me? And why didn't you make sure I was back? Like, I didn't know how to feel about that. And so my comment would be, if you are planning to surprise someone with something, make sure you've worked out the logistics so that the person is where you want them to be, when you want them to be there, and that the surprise actually produces the result that you want it to have. I was bummed. I missed my surprise party. C'est la vie.
Thank you, Jean. That's a sad story.
That's sad.
Okay, let's see if we can recover. Let's try somebody else. See if we can go to the happy land. Who's my next volunteer? Will it be Nick or Bob or Alex?
Again.
Okay, Bob.
All right.
I have number 1 or 3 through 6.
We'll go number 4.
Number 4. What surprises do you think the world will experience during the coming year? What surprises do you think the world will experience in the coming year?
Thank you for the questions, Mr. Table Topics Master. I wish I had better fortune telling skills in my life. However, I'm just going to wing it here. I believe that, and I've read, and I'm sure many of you have, as history seems to repeat itself. I believe that sometimes we perceive ourselves as being so educated, so much smarter, so much better, so much whatever, all the way up there, that we're going to have a nonplus moment and realize we were just the same as the Romans. And we will continue to repeat ourselves. If that comes true, it seems like we fight amongst ourselves, more like in a World War event. But when that event subsides, something will emerge, as it has in centuries past. Evil will be gone, memories will be cleansed, and good people will start back in saying, what the heck were we thinking? Let's get back together and let's get it right back on the right track and start building back like it used to be with family and unity and getting together and shaking off all that old stuff. Back to you.
Thank you, Bob. We are rolling now. That one ended on an optimistic note. I'm thinking we're getting happier by the minute. So who wants to keep it going? Okay, Alex. I have 1, 3, 5, or 6.
I'll go with number 1.
Number 1, tell us about the nicest surprise you ever had. Tell us about the nicest surprise you ever had.
Thanks, Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. Just trying to remember a nice surprise for me, but something came to my mind right away, and I just wanted to share that surprise. It didn't necessarily happen to me, but it was something that I did to my mom. My mother, she lives in Brazil, and my younger brother, he used to live in Dubai. He lived in Dubai for some time. And I knew that my mom was planning to go visit my brother, and he mentioned that to me. And I decided to do a surprise to my mom, and without her knowing, and I went to Dubai. I planned with my brother, and we planned in a way that I arrived a day earlier, so we would pick her up at the airport without her knowing. And I went dressed up as with a typical dress, with the burqa, with only my eyes out, and fully dressed as a Muslim. We went to pick her up, but my brother, we decided to create a story that I was his neighbor, and he was just giving her a ride home. My brother used to work for Emirates, so he used to work at the airport. So we made up the story. We went to pick her up. I was waiting in the car, and when she met me dressed like that, she was just so fascinated that the whole time she was just asking my brother to translate. She wanted to ask all the questions. We made up a name. Her name was Raja. And the whole time, it was like a 20 minutes ride home. The whole time she was just so fascinated about this woman. We got home, and then my brother told her, Raja is about to take her veil. Do you want to see her? And she was so excited. When I removed the veil, my mom was at the same time shocked and disappointed. She really wanted to know that woman, the Raja, not me. But it was one of the most amazing surprises in our family. Thank you.
Oh my.
That's very funny. I think we have time for one more. So who is stepping up here? Art. You have your choice of 3, 5, or 6.
5.
The COVID-19 epidemic may be the biggest surprise we've experienced in our lifetimes. Please explain if you think the worst is over or if there are more surprises coming. Do you need me to repeat?
No. Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home. I don't think that the virus was the biggest surprise. I think the reaction to it and the policies that were implemented in the name of controlling the virus were a much bigger and unwelcome surprise. And I do not think that they're going to go away nearly as fast as the virus is going away. It's going away in the sense that herd immunity is developed to the point where very little serious illness is resulting from the recent variants. And the interesting thing is that in China, they're experiencing a severe outbreak because of their no virus, no cases policies. They've prevented herd immunity from developing, and they're having to lock down Shanghai at the present moment. So it turns out that the policies are the surprise. And the fact that the policies don't work is a surprise to many. It's not a surprise to epidemiologists because they knew that lockdowns and masks and all of the accoutrements don't actually work. The virus actually goes where it wants to. So,
Oi.
oi. The happy surprise is going to be that no more serious waves of this virus are going to stop people from carrying on their lives. They're not serious viral epidemic waves any longer. That will be the biggest medical surprise. Back to you, sir.
All right. I believe that is our allotted time for table topics. I'll go ahead and mention that we had 4 table topic speakers and everyone qualified. So if you'd like to send a vote to Nick, who's the Toastmaster, for best table topic speaker, we can do that now.
Whoa.
Okay. Jean, are you ready to do a table topics evaluation?
I could. a little rough, but I could.
Do you want to wait? We could go through reports first.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if it's going to get any better with time.
Okay. Well, you'll have to surprise us then.
Yes. Hmm.
I assume we're
Fine.
doing two to three.
Yeah. I'm trying not to be nonplussed with some of my comments here. Meaning I'm trying to come up with some suggestions and I'm a little confused that when the grammarian looks at you a little blankly after you've used the word, you have to worry about it a little bit. So Nick looked at me a little.
You picked up on it. I was like, are you nonplussing us or are you nonplussed? I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure.
Yeah, I was
give you a
being
tap.
I was nonplussed.
You're really getting them up there.
Yeah. And I had two usages of the word in a note to Bob, but you won't see it. So I guess I can't count that. Yeah. Bob could confirm, but okay. So you want me to, would you like me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and Madam General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters. I'll start with Bob. Bob had the question, what surprises does he think that the world is going to experience in the next year? He actually set out a premise, which was that rather than things always changing and being different, and perhaps even the illusion of evolution, that history repeats itself. And with that, he built his talk around the idea that whatever is happening now, there's a repetition that happens, things will get better, if things are bad right now, that things will get better. And so just he had kind of an equanimity feel to his outlook. Now, the suggestion I would have to Bob would be just at the beginning, he sounded like he was starting to apologize a little bit and didn't have a crystal ball and doesn't know. So I would just leave that part out, because unless everybody else has a crystal ball and I don't, I think we're all in the same boat on that. Nobody has a crystal ball. So, but you could even say, without having a crystal ball, my predictions would be something to kind of have fun with it, but not to apologize. Just something to say. Alex had the question about the nicest surprise. Great story. She segued from nicest surprise for her to the surprise that she and her brother concocted for her mother. Lots of humor, solid climax. She takes off the burqa and she was obviously having fun telling us the story. The laughter was contagious. Really enjoyed that story. My suggestion to Alex would be, for telling that story, she could possibly in the future start at the climactic moment, such as saying, there I was, peering out of a burqa at my mother who had no idea who I was. And then go back and start building the story. Something that's like wham right there. You get it. Art had the question about, is COVID over or are there more surprises? And he was just talking about COVID wasn't really the surprise. The surprise was the regulations and the various attempts to stop the disease that he felt were misguided. I did get a little sidetracked because I immediately looked up the daily average of COVID deaths right now in the US, like daily, is 604. So, I mean, 604 people dying a day still seems like a lot to me. So, but I had to look that up, and Art spurred me to do that. Didn't really have a suggestion for Art other than, there probably are different opinions and different directions and conclusions on all of that. But my time is up. So thank you very much.
So just on technical aspect here of the meeting, who is Alex supposed to be kind of running this part of it, or am I? Okay.
Once the evaluators start, Alex oversees evaluators, and then she also does the, the roles.
Reports.
Yeah, the reports coming in, because those are people that are doing roles to keep the meeting on track and stuff. So
So
think
Alex,
it
I'm going
says
to
that.
hand it back over to you to kind of
Yeah.
go in between all these stages.
Yay!
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. We'll start now with our evaluations for the night. And I'll call our first role player, which is Dan. He's the timer. Could you give the timer report to us then, please?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Bob's speech was 6 minutes and 58 seconds. Art's evaluation was 3 minutes 10. Jean was 3:24. In table topics, Jean was 2:21, Bob was 1:45, Art was 2:29. I wrote Alex down as 2:30. Just to admit it, I screwed up the lights pretty seriously, so I gave her a few extra seconds. That's generally my policy. No fault of her own, she went over a few seconds. That's my report. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Timer. We'll now go to our grammarian, which is Nick. Nick, could you give us the grammarian report, please?
So thank you, fellow Toastmasters. We had an excellent display of speech tonight. And I'll start off with the key words that came to me, which were phrases and words that I hadn't heard in this kind of combination overall. Art led us off with deft strokes as he described Bob's description of his brother. He then went to laughter and love intermingled. That was followed by Jean swinging through a North Carolina winter. Bob used a more common phrase of history seems to repeat itself to catch our attention and wonder how that's going to lead into what we know for the year to come. Alex, I may have the words wrong, but you used 2 words to describe your mother's surprise that was both happy surprise and completely shocked and disappointed surprise. I thought that something like shocked and surprised, but capturing that duality of her expression was excellent. And then Jean used equanimity, which, to tell you the truth, might be the first time I've heard that exact phrase of the word. So otherwise, besides non-plussing me with all of your amazing vocabulary, you also used the word of the day quite excellent. Jean used it so much she got out of the realm of tallyability. Dan used it and Bob used it. So thank you all, and I'll send it back to Alex.
Thank you so much, Nick. So next we have our OIN. Bob Fogel.
Starting off, I had my Jean start. She had 1 so and 1 but for her at the beginning, and then when you gave your report, I think what's it called.
Table topics,
Yes, no, your table topic, but you gave the report for the table topic.
evaluator.
Evaluation. I don't know, the words escaping me for at the moment. But yes, you had 3 so's and 1 but on that one. And then Alex, for her table topic, she had 2 ahs, she had 3 so's and 1 but, and she kept saying, it's not written here, but she kept saying and she said that 4 or 5 times, I believe. Art, he had 2 so's. And Nick, when you were given your last report for everybody right there, you had a minimum of 6 so's, but I think it was closer to 8 so's inside of there. And that's my report. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Bob. And now to make us laugh a little bit, our joke master of the night, Art. Ready?
So people who play golf, many subscribe to a rule that says bad shots come in sets of 3. So there's a decision to make when the 4th bad shot shows up. Does it break the rule? Those who understand the rule know that no, the 4th bad shot is just the first one in the next set of 3. That's it.
Whoa, I think I missed it.
I think you have to be a golfer.
Yeah, learn golf first. Thank you, Art. So looking at the agenda right now, I think it's time for me to give the general evaluator evaluation. Is that correct?
Mhm.
I do have the evaluation for Jean as well. Should I start with Jean first and then do the evaluation of the evaluators?
For the table topics.
Mhm.
Table. Yeah, why don't you, 30, 45 seconds for me?
Are you okay?
Okay.
How long is normally the evaluation for the general evaluator?
Oh, general evaluator is 3 to 4 minutes.
3 to 4, I think.
And that's when you're evaluating the evaluators, but this little extra little hors d'oeuvre
I can
doing me.
I can try to do within the time. So at least,
Okay,
yeah, I think it will be a good practice for me too. So yeah, you can put just 4 minutes and then I'll try to wrap everything together.
Mhm.
All right. So I'll start with the evaluation for the table topics. Jean had a question, which one was the most memorable surprise that she ever had? She greeted the audience. She recalled the time when she was in college and she did her work and studies in the library. And one day was her birthday, she stayed until late. And she walked in her room and her roommate had all these party supplies, but she had missed her own party. And I loved how she ended with "C'est la vie," which was great. My only suggestion to Jane is that she should look for Brazilian friends. We're very good at making our birthday party last at least a week.
Yeah.
Very good at organizing non-plus parties. Art evaluating the speech that Bob gave. Art did a great job at pointing out the great structure of the eulogy. I think that's how it's called, eulogy, is that correct?
Eulogy.
Eulogy.
Eulogy, like eulogy.
Eulogy. He pointed out that Bob started, with the setting the speech with the phrase "the life short." He went on as pointing out Rick's accomplishments, his in the family, his hobbies, and then he brought up mystery about the body, and he finished with humor, using laughter and love at the end. Art did a great job evaluating. There was no suggestions because really it wasn't needed. Bob really did a great job turning a story that could be a sad story into something that was very light and ended up being so happy and funny. For Jean Evaluation of the table topics, Jean evaluated Bob. She brought the word, pointed out the good parts of his speech. I really like that she used equanimity, few. And also the suggestion was she gave a suggestion to Bob to not to apologize. for Alex, for my speech, she was also very good at emphasizing the good points. She showed that it was good that I used the segue in this speech. And the suggestion was to start, maybe use the, not to say for the last minute, for the high moment, bring that to the beginning. I thought that was a great suggestion. And for Art, she also pointed out the good parts of his speech. She also brought us new data about the numbers of COVID, which was very nice. She had no suggestions for Art, but overall, she did a great job evaluating tabletop. And that's my evaluation. So everybody did very well. This is the first time I'm doing general evaluator. So if you guys have any other suggestions,
Yes?
there's anything, I think so. I think this is the first general evaluation that I do. I think,
Really?
Yeah.
I could look back. I thought
yeah,
I've done this to you before.
or maybe I did once before.
Maybe you've blotted it from your memory. It was so.
Maybe.
Did we ever vote for best evaluator?
No, we should do that now.
We have not. Yeah.
Somehow that slipped through the cracks. So if we could send a chat to Alex, who's the Toastmaster.
Oh, no, Nick.
Nick.
No, I'm looking at last week.
Yeah, you're looking at last week.
It's catching.
Our two evaluators were Art and Jean. Please send that to Nick.
Jean? Did you send me an evaluator?
No, I'm resisting voting for myself. This is me showing strength, inner strength.
Okay.
Not that I didn't appreciate Art's thing. It's just, it's the competitive streak. So, so I'm
You're purposely
abstaining.
not voting.
I'm abstaining.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
It's
I was
a
just checking.
none-but situation.
Yeah.
Well, you will never know because, well, I know.
Mhm.
And it's that time, I do believe, without any further waiting or anticipation, I can share this special information with you about who is going to take home the awards tonight. First, in our very exciting race for prepared speech, we need a big drum roll here, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the best speech of the night goes to Bob Fogel. Very well deserved,
Hey,
regardless of competition.
yeah,
Put another award up there.
hey.
As soon as I saw you and Art's picture for winning the awards, I could only think of Jean holding up those awards and
Yeah.
applauding you both. Next is the table topics. Table topics, best table topics, please, drum roll.
Mhm.
Tonight goes to Alex.
Great story.
Yes, awesome.
Thanks to Raja.
My one question was, did you not talk the whole 20 minutes? How she did not know your voice?
No, I did talk. She didn't know English. Well, my mother lived here in the United States, but she doesn't
Oh.
speak English like fluently. So she was asking my brother to translate. So I was speaking with my brother in English, and I was trying to be very kind of like shy, So my brother he made up a character. I was very shy. My brother would say, "Oh, she's shy. She doesn't talk much." So, yeah, she was asking questions and things.
She was disappointed. I mean,
It was so
ow, ow,
yeah.
God. I mean, jeez.
But she was fascinated. She
I
was-
know, but oh, it's just you, Alex. I
She
mean,
even asked, I even have a picture because she asked, like, my brother said, "You want to take a picture with her?" She was like, "Yes." She was so happy. I have a picture with my mom thinking that I was.
You gotta share that sometime. Yeah, we like to see.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh.
All right, well, thank you all for lightening the load of this intense evaluator competition. We now must build up the suspense again, only to unveil Art Ekins
Yay,
as
I should have
our best
voted.
evaluator
I
tonight.
should have voted.
I really do appreciate that all of you made time to make it here, give some fantastic speeches to lighten the week and to help everyone out there in TV land get enthusiastic about life and sharing a little bit. So with that, I'm going to send it back to our president, Art, for some closing remarks. Art?
Yes, I have a question that I think Jean probably may know the answer to, and that is, we should expect to get Division Z emails, Bob and I, instructing us what to do about competing at the next level, shouldn't we?
Well, given that everybody is a volunteer and people have other lives, if I were in their shoes, I would contact Diane DeBach and ask her. I wouldn't wait.
I'll do it tonight.
I mean, I would just, you could say if you're planning an email, send out, fine. I just want to make sure I understand where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be there. All
We
right.
will let you know when the competition is. We know its location is the Iowa City Public Library. We would love to have anybody in the club as audience members when we compete next.
Do you know how many, how, I may have missed this at the beginning. Did you, who else competed in Area 81?
Kevin Kelly
Okay,
from Ottumwa. And I do not recall any other competitor from our area.
okay, so he competed in both contests?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good, all right. Well, divisional should be a bit more teeth in it, so.
Yeah,
But-
Mark Latta, Division 82, he won.
Oh, okay.
He
So
is an excellent
ta-
speaker.
Both categories, both competitions, or one, or both?
One competition, one
Table topics,
category only.
table topics?
No, I believe it was international.
Who,
Bob, do you recall?
Mark Latta,
I don't.
yeah. Well, anywho, that'll be exciting. Yeah. Okay. All right. Can I tell you guys one more thing? I'm dying to tell you one more thing. We're adjourned, right? We're adjourned, Art? Are we adjourned so
No.
people can leave?
We're adjourning right now.
Okay. Okay.